Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
We have a medical emergency back there.
They'll sound like.
Good evening. It is 5:30 according to Verizon time, so we're going to call the regular meeting to order. Remind you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate. And then let's please all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And City Clerk Chris Reinhardt, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Berg. Here. Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here. At this time, before we go into the item B consent agenda, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and recognize two of our council people. First of all, I'd like to recognize Mr. Matt Delby for an outstanding letter that he sent to the State League of Cities on behalf of Holly Berg. And as a result, his letter was well received by the committee. I happen to be involved with that committee at the League. And I think it was one of the best letters I've read, nominating somebody for the award as Outstanding Young City Official. So at this time, I'd like to recognize Holly Berg and ask that she stand and let me represent. Holly, we're so proud of you and happy to present to you the Rhonda Wood Smith Outstanding Young Elected City Official. It's presented to one person statewide, and Holly was nominated by Matt for this award for her innovation, her commitment, her leadership, and her sacrifice and work in the community. So she received this at the state annual meeting, but I wanted to do this here at home so that people know all the work that she's done. I just want to say thank you for your great work and commitment to the city of Ottumwa. I know you can't see that out there in the audience, but we did take a picture at the convention, and we're very proud of the fact that it was a statewide convention and everybody heard the good things about Ottumwa. So Holly, that's yours too. Okay, let's go ahead and do item B.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 26 on September 7th, 2021 as presented. Acknowledgement of August financial reports and payment of bills is submitted by the Finance Department. Recommend reappointment of Tom Hull and Dan Quinn to the Airport Advisory Board, terms to expire 10/1/2024. Canvasser solicitor application for the Working Man's Christmas Party to solicit donations within city limits from October 30th to December 31st, 2021. Resolution number 180, 2021, approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the Forest Avenue Flood Wall Project. Resolution number 185, 2021, authorizing the 3-year maintenance and services contract renewal with Technology Services and Solutions Incorporated for the IBM Finance Server for a total of $14,283. Beer and/or liquor applications for Ottumwa Grocery Store at 129 to 131 East 2nd Street, Bubba Q's at 1110 North Quincy Avenue, Aldi Incorporated Store number 73 at 940 Quincy Avenue, transfer of temporary outdoor service area for Hotel Ottumwa for event being held in Canteen Alley on 9/24/2021, Appanoose Rapids Fine Dining at 332 East Main Street, temporary premise transfer to 529 East Main for an event on 10/2/2021. All applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion?
Some
Consent. Okay, second. Thank you. We'll give that to Mark and Bob.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. And before we do the next item, I'd like to call on Kayla Mulder to come and receive the award for financial reporting achievement. This was just received. It's been announced on our Facebook page, but again, outstanding reporting and recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association. So Kayla, we're very pleased that you have been able to receive this again. The city has had a record of receiving this, so we're very pleased that you're doing it. So thank you. Item C on our agenda, I need approval for tonight's agenda.
So move.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Item D on our agenda, we always have a report from our city administrator, so I'd turn to Phil Rath and ask him to give us an update.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor. First thing on the agenda here is notification of the Iowa League of Women Voters Forum. That is scheduled for Thursday, September 30th, and that will be starting at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. It's my understanding that there will be a forum for the mayors and then a forum for the council candidates that'll be happening the same night here in this chambers. And so that is a week from Thursday on the 30th at 6 p.m. I encourage anyone to come and view that. It will also be recorded and available on the city's YouTube channel as well. So if you're interested in knowing more about the candidates that are running, make sure you tune in or come and check that out. Along those lines, the next thing on the agenda is, again, a reminder for the primary election, which will be in 2 weeks. That is on Tuesday, October 5th. Those who live in the city of Ottumwa are of voting age and meeting all eligible requirements are encouraged to go to their precincts on that day and vote for council and mayor candidates. City election date, it will be a month later on November 2nd. Again, you will vote by precinct for that election as well. Let's see, I had one more thing that I just wanted to mention before I call up for the Main Street Ottumwa update. And that is for July, Beach Ottumwa had our highest revenue of record. And so it was a very good month. The weather helped with that, and having a good venue for people in the community to be able to participate in and those in the neighboring communities. So congratulations to Gene and staff for having one of the highest months of record. So good job there. And with that said, I will call Fred Zessiger to speak before the council, and he is going to provide an update before us and to the public on good things happening for Main Street Ottumwa.
Yes, thank you. Always appreciate you guys giving me the time to come up and speak. I try to make it up here quarterly just to give you a little bit of an update on what we're doing. It's been a busy year, an exciting year. One of the great things about being part of the Main Street Iowa program is that they do provide us with partnership visits every year. It's usually just a state staff person that comes down and visits with the community, the committees and city staff and council folks like yourselves. But this year on August 30th, we actually had Kathy LaPlante, who's a senior program officer with the National Main Street Center, who did our annual program visit. So it was a little bit different and a lot of fun, and we got a report back, and I gave each of you earlier a copy of that report that she gave us, but I wanted to just quickly do some of the highlights from that. But on the 30th, when she was here, she did meet with all the board members and committee members, or a good portion of those. She did meet with the mayor and Holly and Zach from the city staff, and then later in the afternoon met with our board president, Tricia Myers, and Claudia Gates, our vice president. And then we gave her a tour of town and of the district and showed her some of the exciting things that were going on. And she got to go in and visit with some of the businesses and things like that. Now, most of the day, other than the tour, I wasn't with them. So it was kind of them with my committees and all of you. And it was, it always makes me a little bit nervous on what she's going to hear, but I think it went very well. So just a few of those highlights, some kudos from about our community. She was very complimentary about the city as a partner, citing the city is very supportive of Main Street Ottumwa financially, philosophically, and volunteer support from city staff and the city council. She was very impressed with the city incentives that we have, that the city has for property owners, not only within the Main Street district, but along Church Street as well. The city is more progressive and is successful with enforcement of abandoned properties than others that she has seen. And the city has been a great part of our success in the award of the last 3 challenge grants that we have applied for, with a small match to those projects that have made them successful. Kathy did say when she was here as well, it's not in the report, but she says when she goes to visit cities, she can always tell the cities and the main streets that work very well together, but it's usually very visually apparent. And she said that was for sure the case here in Ottumwa. She could tell as soon as she got here that there was a good, strong partnership between Main Street and the city of Ottumwa. She did also really boost our board and committees. And I just wanted to pull out some of the highlights there because I do feel like I have one of the best boards in the state. And kudos go to them. But one of the things she said was that the Main Street Ottumwa is an organization other Main Street communities should emulate. And I just thought that was really fantastic that she pointed that out. She said they didn't miss a beat with activities during the pandemic. The board continued to meet with work shifting to business assistance and events that drew people into the district to support businesses safely. Board leadership, she mentioned, takes on the duties needed for these positions and takes them seriously. They are fully engaged and extremely active in Main Street Ottumwa-driven projects. Committees are thoughtful with project development and conduct evaluations after events. She was very complimentary about our social media. Our Facebook page and our website both are fantastic and well liked by everyone. And then Kathy also thought we had a strong calendar of business promotion events throughout the year. And then some areas of challenges or areas to focus on. She did notice on our driving tour, and we kind of talked about the retail loss around the mall area, but how that was slowly rebounding back. But she says, you know, that's really a national trend and something that's not uncommon for cities our size that she's visited. She was concerned a little bit about the number of vacancies in downtown Ottumwa, as are we, but was very complimentary that we are taking part in Main Street Iowa's Ready to Recruit, which we did just finish our surveys. We just got those back. I haven't actually been able to go through all of that. We have our next meeting next week, but we did have 518 people that took the survey. So I'm really excited about that, and hopefully that'll help us get some of those vacant storefronts filled up with what we want to see downtown. The other big thing is that we all kind of pointed out was that volunteers are definitely needed, and we continue to work on the development of volunteer job descriptions so that when we do get new volunteers, that we do find them something to do. She also mentioned, was very complimentary of our new streetscape, but we talked a lot about how this first year especially, it's been difficult. It's been a new experience for everybody involved as far as getting things watered and getting things weeded and things like that. So something that we continue to work on, and hopefully here within the next year or two, we have that down to a more scientific improvements and can get the help that we need on that. But while I'm here, I also want to just do a shout out and a thank you to Ottumwa Regional Legacy Foundation for a successful Bright Ideas grant with the awarding the dollars for our new maintenance vehicle, a Polaris Gem. We were able to purchase locally from RJ Performance. And I also want to thank the local SMID program. SMID is Self-Supporting Municipal Improvement District. committee for allocating the match for that vehicle. It was about a $18,000 vehicle. We got $15,000 from Bright Ideas, and then the SMIG committee did allocate $3,000 from their funds. SMIG also has recently purchased some ashtrays that will be attached to the new light poles downtown, and those should be up here in the next couple of weeks, but kind of putting those in some strategic spots where we've noticed that there's some collection of cigarette butts where we don't want them. So hopefully we can get some ashtrays put up and have people use those. We do have several fall events coming up. October's almost here. We've got our Which Way to Maine, which is the trunk or treat. We've got the holiday open house. We're working on that for the holidays. We've got, hopefully we're going to do some Christmas windows downtown. That'll make that a little more vibrant and active down there. Of course, we're selling our Christmas trees for the Lights of Love ceremony out in Central Park, and are looking forward to Small Business Saturday. So it's kind of my update for right now, but I'll open it up to questions if you have any.
Any questions for Fred? Any comments? Mr. Myers?
Yeah, Fred, I would just make a comment. In fact, I'd asked you out of concern as a councilman if you felt like the city, if we were doing our part, staff-wise, council-wise, departments. And then you pointed out that, in fact, the Main Street National person had pointed out that she was impressed with the city's involvement. So I was glad to hear that. I knew, and I said to you, I know sometimes our departments can't react quite as quickly as some groups would like us to, but we certainly want to do a good job and be involved. And apparently at this point we are. So
absolutely. It's always a pleasure to work with the city, and not only does the city back us financially, but I always have a city council person on our board, and it's working with the departments. If there's ever an issue or a question, I know who to call, and I've never had a problem with having problems resolved.
Good. Thank you. Any other comments? I think it's worth noting that in the report, Kathy made the statement that Fred is not only a dedicated employee who works extra hard, but he's loved by the community and great leadership. So we want to recognize that tonight too, that done an outstanding job, and she was very impressed when she met with our city staff. So thank you again for all your hard work, Fred. We appreciate it. I would also encourage the council to think that next year when Fred comes in for his fiscal request, that we consider giving him an increase. That's not on the agenda tonight, but be thinking about that. We'll plant the seed now.
Thank you.
Phil, anything else from you?
No, I'd just like to thank everyone that's here in attendance. A few more faces out there than usual, so that's always good to see. And we also have attorneys from our law firm here tonight. They were here visiting for some other business, and rather than do it by phone, are able to join us in person. So we have Jenna and Nathan from Allers & Cooney here. So later on the agenda, if there's any questions, they're here to help answer those as well.
Great. Welcome. Okay, item E on our agenda, we always give citizens a chance for comments on item on the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to address the council tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item F or G.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Richmond Avenue Pump Station Improvements Project.
And
I'll be taking this.
you'll
for
take
Larry.
that tonight,
Yes.
Phil? Okay, go ahead.
He has the opportunity to do some continuing education, so he's taking advantage of that. So the project will consist of improvements connecting an existing 16-inch sanitary sewer force main to the Richmond Avenue pump station, including a trench 12-inch and 16-inch force main piping, interior 8-inch and 12-inch piping and valves, air vacuum valves and existing pits, portable pump connection, and miscellaneous associated work. The Richmond Avenue pump station is located on the north side of Richmond Avenue to the west of North Milner Street. Bids will be received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on the October 13th, 2021 at 2:00 p.m. Bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at city council meeting on the 19th at that meeting, or at a later date as determined by staff. Is estimated the cost $82,100, and that would come from the sewer fund.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step to the microphone. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Holly?
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Resolution number 179, 2021, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Richmond Avenue Pump Station Improvements Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 179, 2021.
Is
Move
there
the
a motion?
recommendations presented.
Second.
Thank you, Mark and Bob. Any questions for Phil? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to approve a perpetual electric line easement for Lot 17 in Highland Park in addition to the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
Is there a motion? Public hearing, excuse me. You're going to take that again?
Certainly. So this recommendation here will grant a perpetual easement with the right, privilege, and authority to construct, reconstruct, maintain, expand, operate, repair, patrol, and remove an underground electric and telecommunications line or lines consisting of wires, transformers, switches, and other necessary fixtures, appurtenances, and equipment. And that is including associated surface-mounted equipment and the construction, collectively the line or lines, for transmitting electricity, communications, and all corporate purposes of Interstate Power and Light Company, which is an Iowa corporation.
This is a public hearing, so again, if there's anyone that wants to address this item, now is the time to step forward. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Resolution number 181, 2021, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a perpetual electric line easement for Interstate Power and Light Company and Iowa Corporation for Lot 17 in Highland Park in addition to the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 181, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Phil? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to approve a perpetual electric line easement for the northwesterly 37 feet of Lot 11 in Dixon and Hutchinson's addition to the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
Public hearing, so Phil, you have the floor.
This is the same as the last item with the difference of the location. So as stated, this is in the northwesterly 37 feet of Lot 11 in Dixon and Hutchinson's addition for the City of Ottumwa.
Public hearing, if there's anyone that wants to address this item, now is the time to step forward. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
Thank you, Matt.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Resolution number 182, 2021, approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a perpetual electric line easement for Interstate Power and Light Company and Iowa Corporation for the northwesterly 37 feet of Lot 11 in Dixon and Hutchinson's addition to the City of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 182, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to approve and authorize execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and Cobblestone Hotel Development, LLC.
We'll recognize Zach Simonson, who's going to address this issue.
Sorry about the delay in getting those copies circulated before the meeting. All right. So this effort that's been undertaken over years and years to get this hotel sort of development agreement together has really involved a lot of folks, a lot of departments in the city staff, but also the Legacy Foundation, Meet Ottumwa, Bridgeview Center staff, and a lot of partners. And this has really been identified as a critical goal for the growth of the Bridgeview Center, for the economic development of the community. And the 2040 Our Ottumwa Comprehensive Plan identified it as a goal for enhancing and improving the riverfront by establishing a hotel to support the Bridgeview Center. This development agreement will be a milestone really in getting to that point. This is the agreement that authorizes the incentives that are necessary, authorizes the transfer of the property, and really puts that project into motion. Other than site plan review, building permit review, that sort of thing, this is kind of the key step in getting this project off the ground. The hotel that is proposed in this development agreement will cost $9.9 million. It'll be 45,916 square foot, 84 unit, 4-story hotel along Church Street in the Bridgeview Center parking lot. The hotel is from the Main Street line of the Cobblestone Hotels, which is the fastest growing hotel chain in the United States right now. And the street front design will help with the long-term goal of bridging the divide between downtown and Church Street, because it will lend a consistent Main Street feel to that area, which is another great benefit and is consistent with the land use plan for Ottumwa. The development agreement transfers the property that the hotel building will stand on and also guarantees exclusive access to 35 parking spaces. Bridgeview Center and the hotel will share parking for the remainder of what's required for the hotel's parking needs. And this agreement also commits the city to providing an additional 110 spaces of parking by paving the south portion of the Bridgeview Center lot. This ensures there'll be no net parking loss for the Bridgeview Center from this project. This additional parking was included as an original part of the urban renewal plan for a hotel at this Bridgeview Center location. It also, we'd look to finance that long-term from the increment or from some other strategies we might take as we budget this project beginning next year. Finally, the project includes the appropriate incentives that are appropriate for this kind of development, and includes it's located in an urban renewal area, and the agreement includes a tax increment financing rebate up to $120,000 per year for 20 years, not to exceed $2.4 million. These are taxes that will be paid on the added value of this development and then rebated back to the developer. This isn't general fund expense or anything like that. This is $2.4 million in taxes the developer will pay on the added value of the development, and then they'll be passed back to the developer in the form of a rebate. And that's advantageous to the developer because they're able to secure financing in advance that they'll repay with that rebate. And that's the way these sorts of incentives typically work, and work in this case. The city will also provide a $500,000 site improvement allowance, which is money that the Ottumwa Regional Legacy Foundation will give to the city and then again pass through to the developer. This is not $500,000 from the general fund involved in this. This is a reflection of the Legacy Foundation's commitment to seeing this project as an economic development for the community. And finally, the agreement does commit $75,000 from the city, up to $75,000 from the city, to address unforeseen site issues. This is according to a formula where if there are issues with the site, say a old foundation that requires an unbudgeted amount of expenditure to replace, or Jimmy Hoffa, right? Anything that is found that requires some urgent attention and wasn't part of the original development, the city would be committed for the first $25,000 of that expense. We would share the next 25,000, or I'm sorry, we'd be committed to the first 50,000 of that expense. We would share the second 50,000 50-50. So that's where we get up to $75,000. If there's a $100,000 expense, we'd have to pay that full $75,000. Anything above $100,000, the developer would pay to address any of those issues. And the development agreement also provides that the city will pay the permit fees for the project and reimburse those fees to ourselves from increment in the TIF district. Finally, the agreement includes a minimum assessment agreement, which will ensure the assessed value of the development remains at $3.5 million for the duration of the agreement. The assessor has completed his portion of the minimum assessment agreement, certifying that he does see, or he has evaluated the minimum improvements included in the agreement and sees at least $3.5 million in value. That $3.5 million in value would be consistent with the $120,000 per year rebate that's described above, and it would ensure that the captured tax increment is always sufficient to finance the rebate. That assessed value could exceed $3.5 million, but would not be less than $3.5 million. And that's really everything that is included in summary. There's several of us on staff here available to take questions about anything you might have with the agreement.
This is a public hearing, so let's give, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now is the time to step forward and make your comments. If there's anybody pro or con, you're free to step up, identify yourself, and share your thoughts with the council. While we're waiting to see if anybody's going to step up, I would like to ask City Clerk, for a matter of record, has there been any written or oral comments to the City Clerk's office?
I have received no objections to this, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, would you identify yourself, please?
Scott Hallgren. I both live here in Ottumwa at 6 Eleanor Drive, and I also proud to be serving as your executive director at Bridgeview Center. So, excuse me. Good evening again, honorable mayor and council members. Just like to take a few minutes and just share a few thoughts on the hotel project. When I first moved to Ottumwa about 6.5 years ago, on one of my first marketing business plans, this was discussed and brought out. And at that same time, it's also been worked on with the Legacy Foundation through their Riverfront Renaissance plans back in the early days. And it's continued to progress over that time. This proposed hotel project is truly a game changer for Bridgeview Center and our long-term growth. The proposed 84-room hotel will bring Bridgeview Center and Ottumwa up to a level playing field with our competitors across Iowa that currently have hotels connected to them or in very close proximity to their venues. You know, cities like Dubuque, Davenport, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, Cedar Rapids, and others. Next week, we are very proud to be hosting the Professional Developers of Iowa. It's a 2.5-day convention, staying 2 nights in our hotel. This would be a perfect event to utilize a host hotel like that's proposed this evening. And that event is exactly, or those cities are exactly who we were competing for to win that event next week. So I know, and I've heard those comments from others that, well, those cities are much larger than Ottumwa, and maybe that's not our competition, but I would respectfully disagree. We want to be the best. We're growing and doing a lot of things to be the best, and this is one more step to do that. We will no longer have to check the no box or make a note on the RFPs that we respond for statewide conference or convention business that we do not have a hotel that is either connected or located very close to the Bridgeview Center. Again, the playing field will now be leveled. There have been case studies that I did through colleagues that I know, both in Kennewick, Washington, and Vicksburg, Mississippi, where those venues in those respective markets saw new business growth attributed to the hotel opening. The hotel taxes increased in their community. In the case of Vicksburg, Mississippi, 15 new events booked as a direct result of the new hotel opening in June of 2018. One event alone, a state gymnastics tournament, was solely booked because they now had an on-site hotel, and that one event generated over $800,000 in direct spending to the community of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And that community is the exact same size as Ottumwa, Iowa. Those are opportunities that we have before us. I know in the early stages there was concerns of cannibalization of other hotel properties as concern, and just like to share a quick comment from one of my colleagues, Annette Kirkland, who's the executive director of the Vicksburg Convention Center. All the Vicksburg hotel properties are excited about the new activity here because of the new hotel. The hotel only has 117 rooms, and spillover guests are spread out all over the city. Collaborative partnerships are an all-time high. This new hotel will definitely result in increased business for Bridgeview Center. For the last 2 years now, we have developed a niche with our rehearsal tech runs utilizing the Bridgeview Center Theater. These are tours that have come in and rented our venue for 7, 10, 14 plus days resulting in anywhere from 20 to 35 room nights per night, generating in excess of $50,000 in revenue over the course of 14 days. In fiscal year 22 alone, this fiscal year, we have 3 tech rehearsal runs: Peppa Pig in September, Charlie Brown's Christmas in November, and Church Basement Ladies' 20th anniversary show in February of 2022. This will allow us to continue to work with those companies that we already have a relationship and pursue new companies. The convenience factor of an on-site hotel is huge and significant in those efforts. We're also forecasting increased business opportunities for Bridgeview Center after the hotel opens. Within 3 years, we would see 4 additional wedding receptions, 2 2-day, 1-night conferences, 3 3-day, 2-night conferences. Those events alone would deliver over $100,000 in additional revenue back to Bridgeview Center. We respectfully ask for your support on this project, and we are truly grateful to all who have supported and committed to this project to invest in our community and also invest in Bridgeview Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Is there anyone else that wants to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Andy Wartenberg. I am the Executive Director of Meet Ottumwa. I would also just like to make a couple of comments regarding the new hotel. As we all know, we just finished the Babe Ruth World Series here last month. We had an economic impact, which include direct, indirect, and induced spending in the community of over $2.6 million. Now, in order for us, as Scott said, this will be a game changer. In order for us to attract other events like this, conferences, weddings, more corporate business, things like that, we cannot have an aging hotel inventory. We need to have a host hotel. Bear in mind, when people come or are evaluating us for a tournament like this, they will come and do a site inspection. So as great as our community is, if they can't get past the fact that we have older hotels and that we do not have a host hotel, we will not attract these conferences. So I just want to make it very clear that building this hotel will, of course, benefit Bridgeview Center, but folks that come here for conferences, for sporting events, are going to come into our community. They're going to spend money in our restaurants, in our shops, at our gas stations, things like that. The other thing that I really want to emphasize, and I've emphasized this before, is that I know we are in Iowa, but we cannot assume that we will build it and they will come. We, as Meet Ottumwa, in partnership with Bridgeview Center and Cobblestone Hotels, will aggressively market this new property. We already have a sales plan we'd like to put in place as soon as this is approved. So I want to just state publicly that that's going to be job number one for the Convention and Visitor Bureau, is once we break ground, is to sell this property and let the entire world know that we have it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else wants to address the council? Okay. Okay, let's close the public hearing if no one else is going to address the council. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Resolution number 184, 2021, approving and authorizing execution of a development agreement by and between the City of Ottumwa and Cobblestone Hotel Development, LLC. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 184, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Zach or Phil?
I have a couple, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to preface all this with saying that I have spoken with Executive Director Hallgren on several occasions and city staff, and I made it very publicly that I think it was a grave mistake for Bridgeview Center not to have a hotel put on site when the place was built. I can't even imagine what the opportunity cost has been of that decision at this point in time. We talk about how the subsidy is 350 plus every year for the Bridgeview Center. Out of all these years, how much money could have been ratcheted off of that by not having a hotel? It's almost shameful that we didn't have that hotel in place from its inception. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. I really believe that it was a mistake then, and I think that it's a great idea now. Looking at the financial outlay of this project and the pro forma that Cobblestone had put together, it looks like they're looking at about $1.8 million worth of revenue for the first year of operation. About $650,000 of that is incidental revenue that would go towards local option sales tax. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then they're looking at about $700,000 in payroll, which I'm assuming not all that would be transferred payroll from other places in the community. Not all new payroll, but definitely some of that would be new payroll to the community, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then another $1 million in expenses, I'm assuming some of which would be subject to local options sales tax as well, depending on what vendors they're using.
Exactly.
So, and also in the $120,000 that we're rebating every year is new revenue. We don't have that revenue now. So that's not really a loss for us to take that because we don't have it now. But there is about $25,000 worth of new revenue that we're getting off of this property based on a $3.5 million valuation. Is that right?
That's correct.
So if they do come in valued at 4 million, 4.5 million, 5 million, whatever that is, that just makes that number higher. So looking at that, we're looking roughly between an 18 to 20 year payback, if my math is correct on that. When we've looked at some of the properties in the past, we've looked to make sure that our payback is as good or beats what the period is for the rebatement. So I think that it checks that qualifier. One thing that I do have the question on, though, is we're talking about the $566,000 for the estimate for the parking lot and then the site selection of the $75,000. I know that we're going to have that additional hotel motel tax, which primarily I'm assuming is going to go to offset the subsidy limits that we have in place with Bridgeview Center now, which is fantastic. But what's the plan for getting back that $640,000 that we're spending on the parking lot and the development fees?
Yeah, I would say that one key part of considering the parking lot is really that was going to be, I think, realistically an inevitable capital expense. That paving that south parking is something we would have always done. So looking at our capital budgeting, that was something we were going to have to someday do. And looking at the additional increment in the district as this is a suitable part of the project in the urban renewal plan, I think is a part of funding that. I don't know if Kayla has more to add to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and we've discussed too that if we do have any of these expenses from that $75,000 agreement, that we can do an advancement resolution to capture those from the increment in the future as well.
Okay.
And, the $75,000 was something we had to go back and forth on several times. It was in one way really great that this project involved a lot of local investment, that this wasn't a company that came in and they just wanted to build a hotel. They recruited local investors. That means some of that money's going to stay local. We got to work with a local bank. But it also meant that we had lots of meetings back and forth. Well, we got to sell this to the investors. We had to negotiate back and forth. I think we really did find a good compromise sitting across the table talking about it with the staggered sort of first $50,000, sharing the second, and then above that. It is an added cost from the city. I think it's worth it. And I think that looking at the TIF district is recovering from that for that spending, I think is probably the best way we could have got it done.
And it's assuming that those costs are there There's anything that's unforeseen that we're looking at. If it's clean site, everything's good to go, there won't be any additional costs. So that this was just a protection built into the agreement for both parties.
Okay. And then my next question goes back to something that you said just a few minutes ago, talking about the net lots of parking spaces. And that's where my math and your math is not really congruent with one another.
Okay.
You're saying that you're replacing 110 parking spots, but I'm really having a hard time rationalizing how we're gaining 110 spots when people are already using that parking space right now. Even though I understand that if we've got defined lines that we might increase some parking space, but how are you gaining that many more since you're losing that footprint for the hotel and the dedicated spots for the hotel? And the reason that I'm asking that question is we typically during big events have spillover, not only just into the beach parking lot and the Market Street parking lot, but we also have spillover to some of the businesses in the Church Street parking lot. And there is a little bit of concern from some of the Church Street business owners that could hamper the ability for some of their customers to park there with that net loss, at least I guess from what I'm seeing is a net loss of parking, not an equivalent parking. So if you could address that.
Yeah, I think Phil's got some more to say to it. What I would say is that those parking spaces as they are now, you're right, it doesn't count in a zoning basis. It probably is, it is being used, and parking is difficult at the Bridgeview Center as it is, and looking at some other options for parking is another part of long-term going forward. The agreement is really committing us to what the development requires. And then beyond that, I think Phil probably has some more to say as well.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So you're correct in that. I think when the summary was drafted, it wasn't accounting for the spaces that were being used for different events, and that might be 50, 80, whatever number fitting in there at any given time. But this was not the end of the parking solution. So currently without the hotel there is a lack of parking, as you had mentioned. This is one of the first steps, is looking at having that paved. There was also in some of the initial hotel with other developers in previous years, looking at across the street at a lot, or developing a lot there. There's also been talk about looking at underneath the bridge, and as we further our recreational plans and look to see the number of ball fields needed and where those are all located, some other opportunity. The one advantage I think that we have here with the hotel project and having this is this helps create some of that additional revenue to be able to help pay for the paving of those additional lots through the tax incentive that this creates, and then other areas within the urban renewal area that could be utilized, positive revenue to help pay for that. So I think it furthers us in improving the parking. That was one mention, and without getting into future plans, was not included in this summary initially. But there is more parking we'd be looking at as we proceed and create value in the area. And another real quick thing as far as Church Street, one other thing that this looks to do, especially with this Main Street line, is look to help bridge that gap with the river and the bridge there between Main Street and Church Street. So to kind of really help tie in the Church Street businesses into the rest of the downtown area. And this is one of those stops along the way that I think can have a real big impact on furthering that effort as well.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Are there other council questions? Mr. Myers?
Yes. Well, Mark, don't want to do it this way, but the woulda, shoulda, coulda thing, 16 years ago, whenever it would have been, and the 25+ million that it took to do Bridgeview, and the people that stepped forward to even get it in place was such an accomplishment. So we can do the woulda, coulda, shoulda, but what we've accomplished is fantastic. And the other thing I want to add to that is some of the people are out here in the audience, but they and others that we probably couldn't have even done it at this time had it not been for sincere, solid local investment. So I, for one, want to sure thank those of you that have stepped forward.
Any other questions? Go, Holly?
Yeah. So just to make it clear for the public, when we look at council member Rowe, how much were you thinking it said in local option and hotel motel? Was there a number on?
I didn't ask for
Okay.
specific.
But so we're looking at a significant increase in our local option, especially during construction and the first couple of years, and hotel motel. So I thought it would be important to clarify for the audience and those at home what our local option goes to and what our hotel motel goes to know that outside of just helping out Bridgeview, where those other funds go.
I think Kayla might like to answer that one.
Sure. So an increase in our local option sales tax means that we refer to our lost. 90% of that goes towards our streets. So this actually could potentially help us with repairs. And we've discussed a couple times within this last year that our local option sales tax has increased over the last fiscal year of $1 million or more. So again, having construction in our area and having people shopping local and staying local has done some really great things for the city as far as streets. And 10% of that goes to the general fund for general fund relief as well. So it's really important for us to keep that local option sales tax up and to keep that growing. The hotel motel tax, that is also it basically goes into our general fund, but it helps support the expenses that we support the Bridgeview Center with, and also things like the beach. So that is also very important for us to continue to grow that hotel motel tax. And then the other tax that we do talk about some, but not as much, is that RUT, the road use tax. And significantly speaking, when we have construction like this in the area, that road use tax does go up because we have people here fueling up, using machinery, things of that nature. So our road use tax over this last year, especially when the Iowa DOT was doing some of their major projects, was up significantly as well. And that goes directly back into our streets programs.
I don't know if I heard it, and I apologize if you said and I missed it. The percentage of the hotel motel goes back to Meet Ottumwa, the CVB.
Yes.
And so there's an added benefit to them to promote
To
and get
market,
people into
yep.
the hotels
Mhm.
as well. So that's a big impact there.
So essentially, we're looking at TIF funds on the back end being what we'd be looking at from the city. And then so we're looking at no money from the general fund, correct, going into this project for this part, for the development agreement, correct?
Well, correct. So
Correct.
in the end,
With the
now
rebate,
we'd
or
have
yeah.
to have an advance resolution that we'd have to borrow that money from some internal fund or whatever it might be. But the intent would be to have that reimbursed then from the taxable value created by the new hotel. And to Councilman Rowe's point, this is not money that we have sitting there that we're now paying to the hotel developer instead of anything else in the city. This is new money that is created from the construction of the hotel, new value added that is then being recouped and passed back to the developer as an incentive. And one other thing is that 2.4 is future money. So present day value, it'd be about 1.6, 1.7 million. But that is being borrowed and put into the project and then just repaid over that time. So it's like 1.6 today's dollars ends up being 2.4 over the life of that through inflationary and other things.
Any other questions or comments?
Your Honor, I got a couple.
Sure, go ahead, Matt.
We hit on a lot of the financing pretty well, and looking at it for a revenue standpoint, it certainly improves and helps a lot of our things that we have needs in. And one of those areas is the streets, like Kayla mentioned with hotel motel tax. So financing aside, I just had a question. Possibly this might be for Scott. I don't really want to put you on the spot, but I think a majority of the public looking at this hotel development, they don't see what we see up here, and they don't see what you see as an executive director of the Bridgeview Center. So those, let's say 50% of the town says, okay, I'm a concert goer, I like good concerts, or, this is the type of thing, like I am. And so what do we say to them when they say, well, why do we need a hotel? Can you give an example of a time where we've lost out possibly on maybe a bigger venue or a more diverse venue or something, so that we can, at least address that issue with the public, so this would be appealing and beneficial to those folks just as well as would be for the city and business?
Good question, Matt. Thank you. First of all, every RFP that crosses the desk of Andy and I, number one question at the top is, do you have a connected or hotel like within a 1 block of your venue? And we've always had to, for Andy and I, that's been our biggest challenge. And we've worked diligently to do that. We succeeded in the case of Professional Developers of Iowa that's in town next week. We succeeded with the American Planning Association Iowa chapter that's coming to Ottumwa in October of 2022, and other past conferences. But that's a big box that now we can check yes. When it comes to those rehearsal and tech shows I referenced, that's where it's also a game changer, because for them, we had staff in our building from literally 8 a.m. until 4 a.m. Our building was dark for about 2-3 hours. And, if you get done doing whatever lighting work you get done at 1-2 o'clock in the morning, you don't have to find a runner to run you to the Hampton Inn or Holiday Inn Express or, any other hotel in town. You just walk 150 feet or whatever it's going to be from our front door to the front door of the hotel, and boom, you're there. That's huge when we're working on those tech rehearsal runs. And then in our entertainment events and concerts, we just had Ron White in town on Sunday night. Ron White and his crew stayed at the Hampton Inn. What better opportunity for us than to have that bus sitting right outside our venue in the overnight, and have Ron White and his crew staying at the new Cobblestone Hotel on the BBC campus. That would be significant for some of those artists that are staying in town. And also for those concert goers, especially if it's a Friday, Saturday night, or even a Thursday night, there is a percentage of those. Now, I don't have the exact numbers this evening, but there are a percentage of those guests that are staying overnight because they may be traveling. I mean, we have supported data that we are bringing in upwards, depending on the scope and of the artist, but we very typically draw easily from a 75 to 90 mile radius for any of our entertainment events, and that's whether it's in the theater or our larger performance space. The bigger the artist, the larger the radius go out. And if you're coming in, 100 miles for a show, most likely if it gets out, 10:30 at night, you're staying overnight and drive back the next morning.
So do these bigger venues, these concert venues, they obviously feel too, and I know Mark knows a little bit about this, but they also feel that this is something that might be more palatable when they go to look at, booking an event here. So they know that the more people can attend, obviously better sales. So so what you're saying is it helps everybody involved.
Definitely. I mean, every event that works, that utilizes Bridgeview Center outside of like our local one day, like local meetings, for our local business community, every event where we have guests coming in, it's going to be a huge asset for us. And that's why, and I go back, that's why it truly is a game changer for us, because so many events that we do, will be impacted.
And just one more final question, and I'll stop on the point. Have we had a lot of, say, either concerts or venues or conferences? How many would you say, roughly in a year do you turn down specifically because we do not have a hotel attached to the Bridgeview Center?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Off the cuff. Is there 2 or 10 or something in the ballpark?
I mean, I know for sure there's probably been in the last. Now, COVID has changed a few things. So the amount of RFPs and things like that going on in the last 18 months has changed a little bit because of the dynamics of what we're into now.
Right.
But I would say I know specifically probably at least 5 examples of events that after at least a few phone calls of trying to do I get really good at groveling. I'm a great, that's part of my job. But after trying to get past that, to open the door farther to bid on, basically the door just was shut because we didn't either have enough hotel rooms in our market. We didn't have the type of hotels we're working for, which goes back to exactly what Andy was saying. It's not also all about the numbers. It's also about the quality of our inventory. And that's really important. That's the key thing, I guess, just to reiterate what Andy said. So, I mean, there's at least 5 examples, and there's probably more out there, that we've lost business, for those reasons.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I would just say, oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If I can just real quick on the number of rooms, the quantity of rooms, I think it's important for the council and for the community to know, the developer is not coming in here wanting to lose money. I mean, they're not putting up a hotel just because it's shiny and new. They did their due diligence as well. They had a study done to look at the rooms and the occupancy rates and everything else. And they determined by a good margin that they would be able to sell out those rooms and it wouldn't just cannibalize all the other hotels. There was enough market share there. And I don't think we would have had the local investment that they were able to obtain if they couldn't sell that to the group of investors as well, that they wouldn't be losing money on this deal. So I just want everybody to know that, yes, it is another hotel, but there is a perceived need for that as well, in addition to the location and the benefit for Bridgeview Center and the Church Street area. So I just wanted to make that comment as well.
Okay, Councilman Berg,
Oh, yeah,
councilperson.
I was just going to kind of add on from my experience on the Convention and Visitors Board for me, Ottumwa, over the years that we have been able to land some conferences the last few years. Part of that is because of American Planners and PDI are both very interested in our downtown revitalization, things that we've been able to do, rolling out the red carpet, going the extra mile to try to get them here. But traditionally, they're not going to come here without that attached hotel. So we've been lucky to be able to roll out the red carpet or gravel, like Scott said, to try to get some of those, but they're few and far between. So I know over the years of being on the CBB board, there's been many that we've lost out on. And I recall that those are usually pretty large cash builders for Bridgeview Center, along with the entire town, because everybody is trapped or stuck here. When you're at a conference, you're not leaving. You're there and you're in the town for those days. So I couldn't put a number on it, but I know that was significant over time while I was on there as well.
Good evening again. I would like to speak to Councilman Dalby, your questions, and Councilman Berg, your comments. One other thing I think it's very important to remember is one of the reasons that we were able to attract American Planners Association, PDI, was because we were able to sell the planners on the idea of having events outside of Bridgeview Center. So I think it's very important for the community to know that if we are able to get more conferences, the trend now with these types of conferences is not to just have it in one venue, but to spread the wealth, so to speak, which means that we will, for instance, the PDI conference next week, one of the events is going to be an evening event in Canteen Alley and include 5 restaurant vendors. So it's important, yes, I just want to reemphasize that, it's going to be great for Bridgeview, but, we can leverage this hotel to bring more business to other restaurants, other venues in the community as well.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that.
I just have one more quick question for Zach. This is part of the Westgate TIF district, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you define the general outline of where the Westgate TIF district is? Very general.
Very generally, it does run from nearby the sort of Venture Drive shopping area, and it goes more or less right through the center of the community. So it includes and it captures some of that south side from Venture Drive through to around JBS, and then it captures all of downtown. There, I think we might have a map if we still have that binder handy. That might be good to reference. It's quite a large area.
Well,
I didn't mean to unpack that. My question is a follow up for that. Just for the record, TIF funding cannot be used for anything outside of that district, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the reason it's hard to explain
Just-
is that it kind of looks like a congressional district a little bit.
So it was used for somebody's advantage.
Since we're fortunate tonight to have our legal counsel here, and Nathan and Jenny both have been involved in a number of these kinds of developments all over the state, can you share with the public, is there anything, in the past history, people have always said to me, at least as mayor, well, who wrote that development agreement, and are you protecting the city and the citizens? So from your experience point of view, can you share, is there anything we should be aware of in the development agreement that makes us unique or different compared to other ones you've done across the state?
I don't think so. A lot of very good things in this agreement. You have the support of your community foundation that is a part of the arrangement. You're making better use of existing city property. You're going to increase taxes coming off what is right now a parking lot that the city owns. That's a positive. Sometimes I get concerned about hotel projects when they're sitting out by themselves, maybe in a cornfield, about their influence on a community. But the fact that this is such an integral part of your downtown, not only urban renewal district, but attached to your event center, just a lot of really good things about it. With respect to protections in your agreement, Zach mentioned the minimum assessment agreement that guarantees you at least an assessed value of $3.5 million for the life of the agreement, or 20 years, which is a good thing. That's not in every agreement. A developer does not have to agree to that. That's a voluntary agreement as a part of this arrangement, which is a good thing. Obviously, you are selling city property to them, which carries a little bit more risk, but you've included in your development agreement an arrangement where you have a right of reversion if the project does not come to fruition for some reason, and there's no reason to suggest it wouldn't. But if it didn't, that you could exercise that right and get your property back. Those are all good things. Zach mentioned, this site remediation issue is a bit of a unique one. Usually that falls on the developer to take care of. Kind of, you're buying this property, it's your obligation, but the fact that you have the local investors involved, and that was something that was negotiated, and your exposure is capped at $75,000, I think was a very creative way for your staff to come to a resolution to make sure the deal could come to fruition. So it is in step with agreements we would see across the state. Some people laugh at the length of our agreements that we put together under these situations, but there's a reason for every term that's in there. And Jenna, and our goal is to try to protect the city as much as we can in these situations. So that's why they're the length that they are. But
Okay.
it's a fair question. Miss anything comes to mind?
No, I think that pretty well covers it.
Okay, very good, thank you. Last call for any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, Rick.
Phil, how did the Cobblestone folks determine that the bed count needed to be 84, and how does that compare with the other existing hotels in Ottumwa?
So how did Cobblestone determine what?
The fact that they needed 84 beds, what was that based off of?
So that was part of what the study was looking at. I think we were initially looking for 100 plus, and through the study and the analysis that they did, 84 was the number that they settled on. So now Cobblestone has a couple of different models that they look at. I think they had a 63 room model, an 84, and 106 or something in that range. The 106 seemed to be too many based off of their analysis. And so the 84, they thought that they could support, and it fit within the model. It was within the Main Street brand, and included not only the rooms and the variety of rooms, some of them suites and suite-like type things. So it's not like your typical hotel room necessarily. There's some variety to each of their rooms. But then also added in the chop house aspect to it too. So you're walking along the sidewalk there, you'd be able to pop in, grab a quick bite to eat or something, and go on your way or head on the trail. Or you can stay in the hotel and be able to visit the restaurant or a bar on site.
if they only feel like they need 84 rooms now, is the design of the hotel such that they could add additional rooms in the future?
I did ask that question during the development, and the answer we got was potentially, but the reality for hoteliers is that they build another hotel. That's just, when you're ready to grow, you're usually ready to grow one hotel at a time, not half a hotel at a time. And so that was sort of the answer that we got.
Thank you.
Okay, good questions, good discussion. Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you all, and thank you for the support and the first step of a major development and something that's long been overdue. And I would echo Councilman Myers' comment. I want to thank the local people who stepped up and who had the faith and belief in this project and who invested their hard-earned money in this. So again, I think they believe that this was doable, and it's going to be a good game changer for the whole community. So thank you for investing in us, and we look forward to having a lot of people. It's going to have great visibility from the highway too, and I think we're going to pick up some business we weren't planning on. So thank you very much. Let's go on to item H.
Resolution number 177, 2021, authorizing the mayor to sign a grant application from the Iowa Department of Transportation for runway lighting repairs at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 177, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We have with us DJ Wheaton, who is going to talk to us about this project, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The airport is applying for a grant to replace the runway and identifier lights on the 22 runway at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. These are also known as the real lighting. The Iowa DOT is offering a grant to repair or replace the lighting issues. They've got a grant out right now. As long as we use it by the end of the year, we're good. It says our current reels are no longer being manufactured and parts will no longer be available. With advice from the Iowa Department of Transportation, they recommend that we replace these lights to match the lights on the end of our 13 runway. The total cost of the grant or the repair will be $14,338.42 with a $10,000 grant, which is a 70% match with a $10,000 max is what it is. The airport will be responsible for $4,338.42.
Any questions for JD? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 178, 2021, removing two special assessments applied to 1202 Castle Street from resolution number 12-2021 on January 19th, 2021, and resolution number 260, 2020 on December 15th, 2020. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 178, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Go ahead, Zach.
All right, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council. In July, the city obtained by default judgment the title to an abandoned property, 1202 Castle. This resolution would remove two special assessments that the city had applied to the property under the previous owner. If we didn't remove these assessments, there'd be interest penalties assessed beginning October 1st, and those penalties would detract from the benefit that might come to selling this property on to someone else. If we sell it with tax debt, we're just likely to get less interest in getting rid of the property to somebody suitable.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
At this time, we also invite people from the audience to comment on anything of city business. I think we have one individual that would like to step up. If you would identify yourself tonight.
Thanks, Mayor. My name is Mike McGrory, and I'm the superintendent of Ottumwa Schools. I'm usually on your side, so I'm a little nervous tonight because I don't get to be on this side very often. But I really wanted to take the opportunity to And probably my comments are really underlining a lot of gratitude for our city. A big thank you to our city for all the support that you've given our district. And I'll go a few comments that will kind of explain why we're so grateful is that through our process of, like, I love to hear when Scott says, be the best, because you've heard that initiative from our school district, that we want to be the best school district in the state of Iowa. And over the last year and a half, we've invested in our facilities, much like the project you just are talking about. We've invested over the next 2 years, $21 million. And we want our facilities to be the best. But we know what an added benefit of that will be the impact it has on our community, impact it has on our student population, attracting people to our community. And we're already seeing those results. Right now we're looking at, we'll know official count date for our district is October 1st, and that's a big date for districts. It looks like we're going to be significantly up, and we have not experienced that type of increase in our district in decades probably. And we really attribute it to reinvesting in our facilities and trying to be the best. And what the council has done tonight by approving the hotel project, we understand as a district the benefit that will have for us. It's going to attract parents to our community. It's going to be another piece that when people look at Ottumwa, they're going to say, this is an entertainment option that really excites me. And it's going to have an impact. And like I said, we're already as a district seeing that impact by investing in our community, as you did tonight as well. So I commend the council, I commend the mayor, and I even will commend Phil on this too. Yeah, so that's difficult for me, Phil.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I will. But I also, underlining my comments, really is a sense of gratitude to our city people, our council, and a mayor. Because all these projects that we've done, we've remodeled, whether it's remodeling 4 elementary schools on the north side this summer, or opening up our new career campus that we would love to showcase for the council at your convenience to give you a tour, or a new addition on Evans, a $4 million addition, or remodeling our facilities at Evans. If you get a chance, our gym and so forth has been completely remodeled. Whatever it was, the addition onto Pickwick, we just finished a $5 million addition this summer onto Pickwick. We probably have the largest preschool in the state of Iowa now. I know we have one of the best. But all those things take enormous collaboration. We had so many things that we needed help from the city. And every time we asked, the city was always there. Whether it was getting a permit, whether it was working with us to be able to do this project to meet our timelines, they did whatever they needed to make that feasible. And I can't thank the city enough for that. It's really made our projects go so smoothly. And I think it's a great example of, we talk a lot about as a community, we're all in this together. And I really have that feel about our community. As a district leader, I know I can go to the city and we'll be able to work out and actually be very effective in whatever we need, it'll happen. And that's just a really, really exciting thing to know. And I think, as many of you have been here for a while, this is an exciting time for our community. And what you've done tonight, again, is made that even more exciting. And we intend as a district to feed off that as well. So I really wanted to take the time to thank everyone. But then I also, on a personal level, I don't get to talk on a personal level very often. I have to always watch, But personally, I also want to congratulate our mayor. I know is on upcoming retirement. I can't imagine a better ambassador for our city. Your passion, your commitment to our city has been phenomenal. And the impact you've had has been unbelievable, Tom. And I just want to thank you on a personal level for what you've done for our community. And we hope you enjoy your retirement. I know where to find you when I need you. I'll find you for coffee and donuts. So I'm excited about that. But no, I really commend you, Tom. And I appreciate everything you've done for our community as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. And we appreciate having you choose to come back to Ottumwa and cooperation and collaboration with the all your personnel. We've had just great experience, whether it's, again, Parks Department, Public Works, Police Department, Fire. They've all said very good things about your staff in general. You have a great staff, and we're so happy that we have a first-class education system, because I say to people, people that are looking at Ottumwa want to know you have good education, good medical facilities, good recreation, quality of life. So we've got those things really moving, and you're a big part of that. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
Two other things I just want to mention. We did have a very successful duck race this past weekend. And that was great to see people downtown and families especially enjoying themselves. A beautiful day, and it worked out very well. And then Sunday, we had the International Festival at Jimmy Jones Shelter, and saw a lot of folks there, of part of our diversity in the community. Great food and lots of dancing and good music, and that was just a great experience. The other thing I want to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't, we have a couple of openings on some of our boards and commissions, and Katie always tells me that you can get those applications online, so you don't even have to come into City Hall if you don't want to. The City Hall is open to people, but we have need for Park Board, Airport, Planning and Zoning, and Housing. So if you have an interest in some area that, or somebody that does, tell them to fill out the application. It's very simple, 2 pages, very simple, and get it turned into us so we can get those filled up, because those really do help us. You're the eyes and ears of the community. So, and then lastly, I'm really pleased about the cooperation we've had with John Deere Corporation, and we are going to take a team to Waterloo in October to make a presentation to the Iowa DOT Commission about a project at John Deere, and it's the first time I've seen such great public-private cooperation. And just to give an example, one of the guys asked, how long you guys been working on this? Several years? And we said, no, 2 months. And he couldn't believe it, that we could get as far as we were in this project. But it's, again, the collaboration and cooperation of all the good people. So we'll tell you more about that as we go to Waterloo, and hopefully come back with some good news about that. So last call, is there anything of city business from anybody on the council? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good night.